Hello, it is the Mirror Moves. Today the story is about a HOA Karen called the cops when I returned to my mansion. Turns out, she's been working out in my second home. My Massian became her freemium gym for months. She squats, lunges glutes, and all her goddamn sweat drop in my mansion while I'm away. Then she calls cops on me when I come home. Shit, it was supposed to be the best homecoming ever. I had just wrapped up a long overseas work trip. The kind where you're counting down the days until you can collapse on your own couch and order an irresponsibly large pizza. My driver, Luis, pulled the SUV up to my long, oak-lined driveway, and I already felt my stress peeling off like old wallpaper. But then I saw it. The curtains were different. Not open instead of closed different. Not new sheer panels different. I mean bold floral monstrosities that looked like they'd been stolen from a motel in 1974. My stomach tightened. Luis, I said, have I gone insane, or do my windows look like they were dressed by a colorblind raccoon? Luis glanced up at the mansion. That's not what was there when I dropped you off last time. That was the first sign something was off. The second came when I noticed the faint smell of barbecue drifting out of my backyard, and I hadn't had a tenant, a roommate, or even a house sitter. I stepped out, rolling my suitcase behind me. As soon as my key clicked into the front door, I heard rapid footsteps inside. Then, the deadbolt. From the inside, I froze. Someone had just locked me out of my own house. Who's in there? I shouted. A voice, shrill, nasal, and dripping with the entitlement of someone who's never once paid a late fee. Called back. This is my house now. The HOA says you abandoned it. It took me a second to place it. Karen, the self-appointed empress of our HOA. The same woman who once fined a neighbor for having a garden gnome that looked judgmental. Karen, open the door, I said, trying to keep my voice level. You know this is my property. She laughed, actually laughed, and said, not according to the abandonment clause. And you can't just barge in. That's trespassing. Before I could even answer, I heard her yell, I'm calling the cops. Now, this would be the part of most HOA horror stories where the police arrive and side with the homeowner. But remember, Karen had been marinating in her own petty power for years. She must have rehearsed this moment in front of the mirror every night. I decided to call the police myself, just to make sure they heard my side first. But when the cruisers pulled up, the absurdity dialed up to 11. Two officers stepped out. One looked at me, then at the house, then at Karen, who had flung open a second-floor window to wave down the cops like she was hailing a taxi. She's trespassing, Karen shouted, pointing at me like I just climbed over her fence with a sack labeled loot. The officers exchanged a glance. Ma'am, one said slowly, do you have proof this is your residence? Karen froze. The HOA president told me. That's you, the officer cut in. Yes, but the board. There is no board, he replied. It's just you and your newsletter. I couldn't help it. I started laughing. Not a polite chuckle, a full, doubled over, tears in my eyes laugh. The officers, bless them, were professional, but you could see it in their eyes. They wanted popcorn. They asked me for ID. I showed them my license and a utility bill with my name and the address. Karen, meanwhile, tried to present a deed she'd printed off Google Docs. It wasn't even the right house. The picture on it was of a two-bedroom bungalow in Nebraska. That's when I decided to twist the knife, figuratively, of course. Karen, I said, I'm just curious. While you've been residing here, did you also handle the mortgage payments? Her mouth opened and closed like a goldfish. I improved the place. Swept the porch. Replaced your curtains. I held up a hand. You replaced my custom silk drapes with those floral nightmares. That's not an improvement, Karen. That's a crime against fabric. Even the cops snorted. Eventually, they told her she had to vacate immediately. But Karen, being Karen, tried to negotiate. Well, can I at least keep the meat in the fridge? It's expensive. No, I said flatly. She huffed, grabbed a half-empty bottle of store-brand ketchup from the fridge, and stormed out, muttering about how ungrateful people are these days. It took me hours to walk through and see what she'd done. My wine cellar turned into a craft room, complete with hot glue stuck to the shelves. My office, rearranged so the desk faced away from the window because natural light is overrated. The guest bedroom, painted in thick, uneven lavender brushstrokes that looked like she'd used a broom instead of a roller. But the crown jewel was the backyard. She'd installed a cheap above-ground pool inside my koi pond. That night, I sat on my reclaimed couch, sipping an actual glass of wine, and thought about how to HOA-proof my home in the future. Cameras? Already installed. Security system? Upgraded. A 6-foot fence with barbed wire? Tempting. In the end, I settled on a simple solution. A massive, unmissable sign at the end of the driveway. It reads, "Private property, not in HOA Clubhouse." Because if there's one thing I've learned, it's that you can't logic a Karen out of bad behavior. You can only make it as inconvenient as possible. And judging by the look she gave me when she drove by last week, sunglasses on and lips pursed, I'd say it's working. If you've ever had a neighbor try to claim your property, you know exactly how surreal it feels. But nothing, and I mean nothing, beats the look on their face when reality shows up with a badge.